My name is Jeremy Dennis. I'm an artist and photographer from the Shinnecock Indian Nation in Southampton, New York. I got started in my art practice, I would say, through a lot of different mentors, including my mother, Denise Silva Dennis. She's a public school educator and an art teacher, and she has always been a force of just encouragement, love, and support all throughout my life. So I was really lucky to have someone so close encourage me and help find a path and meaning in my life, and that's still true today. And so when I was growing up, I went to the same school district. She was never really my teacher, but she was always in the environment, always around the corner. And so I was always just having a feeling of like, maybe that's a possibility for me. I can have a role as a teacher or as an artist. And so I think that from there, I've just had different teachers and mentors and chair committee members just encourage me along the way. And I'm just really grateful to all of them for helping me get to where I am today and be an artist. Race and ethnicity enter into my practice by means of personal investigation into who I am and who my ancestors are, and wanting to celebrate that fact with a wider audience, and that's including my own community as well. And so a lot of the work that I do looks at indigenous culture and race, and specifically Shinnecock history and culture, and just trying to evaluate what makes us unique, what sets us apart, what has not been talked about, what has not been taught. And so the work I do as an artist tries to just make that easy to understand, easy to share, trying to create other ambassadors to share this knowledge. And for me, just growing up, we weren't really taught about race and ethnicity in the ways that today I really think it should be taught about. And so I think that art is one of those mediums that allows us to talk about things that are not necessarily like the most pride-inducing, or things that we feel like empower oneself in all directions. But for me, I think it's empowering, just because to learn where you come from really helps shape where you're going and how you got here. And it alleviates you from stress and anxiety of like, this is how we've always been, this is how we have to stay. It kind of shows that we've transformed in the past. Why can't we transform into the future as a race? And so I think that that's really exciting to be part of a small community and celebrate that with a wider community as well. I've been working on a family home known as Moss House over at the Shinnecock Reservation. And it was really a sort of a silver lining project that came out of COVID. All of us experienced like opportunities being lost or canceled. And so my schedule as an artist completely opened up. And so we had this old family home that was ready to fall in on itself. This is really common over at Shinnecock, just because you really can't get mortgages, you can't get loans from banks to improve your residence. And so this was unfortunately a house that has been vacant at least 5 years without any utilities, anyone taking care of it. When we started the renovation, there were even raccoons living in the recesses of the house. And so with this free time and a little bit of crowdsourcing as well, we did a GoFundMe campaign and raised a lot of money towards the materials. We ended up turning this old beloved home called Moss House into a communal art space over at the Shinnecock Reservation. And so it's, I think it's a story that a lot of people connect with, because it involves history, memory, your grandparents, honoring their legacy and vision. And it's also a space just to celebrate contemporary art. And so the project primarily serves artists of color, just because, especially in 2020, between COVID-19 and the Black Lives Matter movement, there's just such a need for healing, bridging communities that have been historically segregated, and using art as the medium to bridge that healing and make those new connections. Well, for me, when I think of challenging times, art really plays the role of just kind of grounding oneself and trying to evaluate the situation. If you are in troubled times, it kind of helps you, at least in my case, I like to take things that are troubling me internally or in my mind, put it in front of me, and it really gives you that space to kind of meditate or think about it right there in front of you. And so I try to encourage this in others. Just the practice of creating can be beneficial. It can help alleviate tensions. It can just put things into the world that are hard to put into words sometimes. And so I really use art to heal in my personal way and to help grow as an individual. And so the work that I put out there into the world is also something that I use in relation to troubled times, because historically, indigenous people have endured conflict, colonization, and just a history of things being wrong to them. And so I try to use art to bring up these painful conversations that happened then and still happen today. Just the fact that we've not had meaningful reconciliation between nations. And so I try to use art as a means of just trying to get people to talk about things they don't want to talk about, because art can be beautiful, it can be alluring, it can be something you want on your walls, but then art can also just challenge, can bring up topics that we need to talk about but have been putting to the side. And so I just try to create art that builds community as well. That's a big question, yeah. Well, for the, let me see how to phrase that. My message I have for the world is I really embrace education and public free access to education. And so the work that I do involves spending a lot of my personal time accessing different archives, different educational resources, and just trying to make them easily accessible for like classroom use, individual use. If other artists want to use the work that I'm working with, they can feel free to. But I just really want us as a people, as a global people, to move in the direction of just appreciating each other's cultures and embracing difference and embracing similarities. I think there's just so much that we're just not willing to acknowledge in terms of like our shared humanity. And so I think that one way to alleviate that misunderstanding is just learning more about one another, spending time with one another, not just being in our different silos or our different communities, but coming together. And so I as an individual, try to be a connector. So I'm from a small community, but I always try to find like different opportunities for people, different public events we can all go to, or create my own things that people can attend and just be with one another. One thing that has surprised me in my career and life experiences is just how far I've gotten. I think where I'm from at Shinnecock and on the reservation, a lot of people just have such a small view of the world, and that's not their fault. It's just kind of what the outside world has kind of prescribed to us, like this is where we belong, this is our little sliver of land. There are benefits to this because everyone on the reservation is family, you have a great support system, but there's just such a small world view, like not leaving your community, not seeing the rest of the world and seeing how life could be or how knowledge can be brought back to your community and improve it. And so I've just been surprised at every level of like getting different opportunities, different fellowships, like accelerating in higher education. Just being an artist is a gift as well. I always think it's a luxury because like we need food, we need farmers, we need people to provide basic needs, but I'm just creating beautiful work at times. And so I'm just so surprised that I'm able to be at this point and be supported and also support others, just having that capability. If I were stuck on a desert island and needed a creative tool, well, I'm a photographer, and I think maybe a film camera I would bring along, just because, of course, you wouldn't have electricity, and you want to document your experience just in case you don't make it beyond the island. And so I think having a film camera with lots of rolls of film would be my pick, just because that's what I'm used to, and I believe in photography and the power of the medium, and it's something that I do both for fun and for work. I think people ask me, like, what do I do for fun outside of creating art? But that's what's fun for me. So.